Okay, welcome back from lunch, everyone. Nice to see you guys. We're going to start out our afternoon with a loving kindness meditation. I'm just going to do loving kindness meditation with you so you can get an experience of what it's like. And then tomorrow morning is where I'm going to actually teach it to you. So if you'd like to join for loving kindness meditation, the way that I do this is I start with chanting to ease us into the meditation. And you can see the chants on the laminated sheets over there if you'd like to chant along. Then we'll do kind of like about a 5-minute, 10-minute worth of breathing mindfulness meditation where I'll guide you in that meditation. And there'll be a period of time where it'll just be quiet when we're meditating together. But then I'm going to come back in with some guidance on loving kindness meditation where you'll hear me say these affirmations and you'll just be repeating those in your mind. And then we'll go back to breathing mindfulness meditation and then back to chanting. So we'll just do it together. And then tomorrow you'll get a chance to learn it as I walk you through, helping you to understand loving kindness meditation. So if you'd like to join for loving kindness meditation, just take a position, either seated, lying, or standing. We don't usually do loving kindness in the walking position, but seated, lying, or standing, and then you're welcome to join along in the chanting and the meditation if you'd like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Otang Mahakevanang Apivatiyami Savakato Mahakevata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti pisu Mahakeva Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then when you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. When you hear this affirmation, repeat it in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May my mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May my family and friends be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May all those who have caused me harm be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. Now go back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาพุทธังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะเตOkay, if you'd like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to teach you guys this meditation this morning or tomorrow morning. I was interested in you just kind of experiencing it for today. Tomorrow, we're going to actually learn it so that you can understand what's actually happening. This afternoon, what we're going to be doing is talking about the three poisons or the three unwholesome roots. This is where you're going to learn about craving, anger, and ignorance, because this morning I talked with you so far about craving, desire, attachment, and this is the cause of discontent feelings. But there's a deeper level of understanding that you gain when you understand the three poisons or the three unwholesome roots. And then the deepest level of understanding of what's going on in the unenlightened mind is what's called the 10 fetters. This is common in the teachings of the Buddha, that he teaches in these layers. So the first layer is what I described this morning. Now we're going to go into the next layer. And then as you go deeper into the path to enlightenment, you'll go deeper into the next layer, which is called the 10 fetters. And that's what gives you the full description of what's going on in the unenlightened mind. So these three poisons, these three unwholesome roots, it's important, just like everything else, that you don't believe what I'm sharing. That as you hear me sharing these three poisons or three unwholesome roots, that you reflect on your own direct experiences and determine whether or not you indeed have these three poisons or not. Because what these three poisons describe is what's plaguing the unenlightened mind and why the mind is experiencing the challenges and the struggles that it experiences. So it helps you to understand what's motivating the unwholesome decisions and the unwise decisions and experiencing these unwholesome results. They're called craving, anger, anger, and ignorance. This is how I refer to the three poisons or the three unwholesome roots. Some people refer to them as greed, hatred, and delusion. So you'll sometimes hear them referred to this way as well. Some people will even say desire, ill will, or confusion. These are the three unwholesome roots or the three fires. So what craving, desire, attachment is, this is the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection. This is what we were talking about this morning, where the mind thinks that something outside of you is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. So it chases and it chases and it chases. There's a whole spectrum of cravings, right? The stronger and more deeply held your attachments are, the stronger the emotions will be. But then there's kind of lighter things too that just kind of irritated, just kind of annoyed a little bit. So for example, like if your mom ended up in the hospital from a massive car accident, you'd probably be highly upset with that potentially if you're attached to your mom. But if you went into 7-Eleven and they didn't have chocolate, and you really were interested in having some chocolate or wanted chocolate, you'd probably be irritated a little bit. But then you'd kind of let that go pretty quickly, where these feelings that you had with mom would be more deeply held because of the attachment is stronger. So the cravings, desires, attachments is the mind holding on to something. It's longing, it's yearning, it's craving some kind of permanence. It's thinking something outside of you is going to provide this lasting satisfaction. So it longs and yearns, and it experiences discontent feelings. When it gets what it wants, it gets conditional pleasant feelings. As long as mom's healthy, as long as 7-Eleven has chocolate, I'll be happy. That's the pleasant feelings. Happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, euphoria. But then when the mind doesn't get what it wants, when mom's sick, when mom's unhealthy, or 7-Eleven doesn't have the chocolate that you want, now the mind's angry or frustrated or irritated or annoyed or agitated or some other discontent feeling. This is the mind experiencing discontentedness. It's going up and down and up and down. The mind's chasing after its own selfish desires, wanting things to be permanently pleasing for yourself. This is the craving, desire, attachment. Well, as the mind is experiencing these cravings, like I mentioned, if it gets what it wants, it gets happy or excited, pleasant feelings. But if it doesn't get what it wants, it gets these painful feelings. And one of those things is anger. This is the bitterness, the hostility, the aggression. This is the mind being hostile towards others through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And as these painful feelings are arising, this anger is arising, that's where the mind's bitter and harsh and hostile. You'll tend to push people away. This is called aversion, that you're uncomfortable with those painful feelings that are arising, and the mind falsely believes that it's something external that's causing that. So you'll tend to push people away, or you'll push the situation away. This is called aversion, but it doesn't solve the problem because it's only a matter of time before the next thing that the mind isn't getting what it wants, it becomes angry and frustrated and bitter again. So the mind will either push things away, be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or put your expectations on people because these painful feelings of anger, the mind's uncomfortable with those. And it has to figure out like what's going on here. And typically what the enlightened mind will do is blame these feelings on somebody else rather than realizing it's your own mind that's causing this. It's your cravings, it's your desires, it's your attachments that's causing these discontent feelings. It's not anybody else or anything external. And where this is all coming from is the ignorance, the unknowing of true reality. This is the whole reason why craving and anger continues to exist in the world. People tend to translate this as ignorance, but ignorance is a derogatory word, so I use the phrase unknowing of true reality because this is a better way to reflect this. The Buddha wouldn't have spoken a way where he was derogatory or diminishing to another person. He doesn't do that. An enlightened being wouldn't do that. So this word ignorance, it's not really the most accurate word, but a better way to think about it is misunderstanding or confusion or misperception or the unknowing of true reality. The mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. It lacks wisdom. It firmly believes in the unenlightened state that other people are causing you to be angry. And this just isn't true, but the mind can't see that by itself because of its ignorance, because of its unknowing of true reality. It just can't see that. It has this lack of wisdom. So because it lacks wisdom of things like the four the Four Noble Truths, the Three Universal Truths, the Eightfold Path, the 5 Precepts, meditation training, the 10 fetters, all these different teachings that you learn. Because the mind lacks wisdom of these things, it continues to experience the same problems over and over and over and over again. So there's antidotes to these things. These are the 3 poisons or the 3 unwholesome roots. But there's antidotes to these. There's a way to fix these. There's the way to uproot them out of the mind. Through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress, you can apply certain techniques to eradicate these from the mind. It's the Eightfold Path that's going to do that for you. That's the core central teaching that you need in order to accomplish the eradication of these 3 poisons. But there are specific teachings and specific techniques that actually go in and specifically eradicate these from the mind. With craving, in the symptoms of craving, what's actually antidoting that is breathing mindfulness meditation. When you're focused on the breath and the mind moves off the breath and you cut that off and let it go, this is you training your mind to let go, let go, let go, let go. Because with craving, desire, attachment in the mind, your mind doesn't want to let go. It's holding on. It wants things to be permanent. It doesn't know how to let go. It wants things to be permanently satisfying. So the goal of breathing mindfulness meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. It's to train the mind to develop awareness of mind or mindfulness, to develop concentration, and to be able to easily let go. That when your mind is longing and yearning, you can see that with your mindfulness. The mind wants that new pair of shoes. Look at that. The mind's longing, yearning for something to happen. I can let that go, right? You can train your mind to let it go. That maybe you have 20 or 30 pairs of shoes at home. What is one more pair of shoes going to do for you, right? But the mind, when it sees that brand new pair of shoes, it's longing, yearning for that new pair of shoes or something else. The mind's longing, yearning for it. So the mind needs to learn how to pursue things as a goal, as an objective or an interest. There's no harm in getting a new job. There's no harm in doing that. But it's when the mind chases after it and it thinks that this job is going to be somehow satisfying in terms of making you feel whole or making you feel complete. There's no problem with having a boyfriend or having a girlfriend. You can have a partner in your life. But it's when the mind thinks that this partner is going to complete you and they're going to make you feel whole. And this is what you need in the world in order to feel satisfied. And without this partner, you can't live a happy life. This is what the craving, desire, attachment's doing. So training your mind with breathing mindfulness meditation trains it to let go and realize, okay, well, I can work towards having a partner, or I can work towards having new shoes, or I can work towards having this new job. But that's not what's going to satisfy the mind. It's not this external thing that's going to produce permanent happiness or permanent peace or permanent joy. So the breathing mindfulness meditation is helping you to develop mindfulness or awareness of mind. It's helping you to develop concentration and the ability to easily let go, let go, let go. So if 20, 30, 50 times during your meditation you have to let go, this is really good for the mind. Right? So you'll experience times where your mind will be quieted or still during breathing mindfulness meditation, but you're always going to have thoughts. The goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to notice them sooner and sooner and to let them go easier and easier. Then there's generosity. What generosity is the giving and sharing of more than is strictly required in any given situation, such as your time, your effort, your energy, and your resources, without any expectation of anything in return. You would like to be able to live open-handedly and be joyful in letting go, because your mind wants to hold on. When craving, desire, attachment is in the mind, you'll find it hard to be generous. You'll be selfish and you'll hold on to things very tight. But when you practice generosity, where you're giving and sharing regularly throughout your day, throughout your week, every single day, practicing some type of generosity, this trains your mind to let go. And this will help you to eliminate craving, desire, attachment. But remember, you need to do this without any expectation of anything in return. So if you're walking into a store and you're holding the door for somebody and you're practicing generosity or letting them go in the door, if you're standing there with an expectation that they're going to say thank you, you'll be frustrated when they don't say thank you. Right? So you're going to need to practice sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources without any expectation of anything in return, not even a thank you. You're just doing it because you know it's a wise decision and it's enhancing the quality of your mind. That's what you would ultimately like to get to. Okay, so these are the two trainings that are really targeting craving, desire, attachment. But it's really the entire Eightfold Path that you need in order to eliminate craving, desire, attachment. You need all those different factors, but these are the two that are really targeting craving, desire, attachment. Do you guys have any questions on craving, desire, attachment, or the techniques that we use in order to eliminate these from the mind? Remember, for those of you guys online, you can put it into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Okay, so now let's go on to anger. Anger are those painful feelings, the aggression and hostility that then comes out because of those painful feelings. This is the mind being displeased and unsatisfied with the uncomfortable feelings that are in the mind. And now through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, you start being bitter and hostile and harsh or aggressive to others. We've all done this, right? Because we are all born unenlightened, so we're all going to do this. There's nobody that's ever been born that has never been angry. Everyone who's ever been born has experienced anger at some point. But you can actually transform your mind and get to the point where you no longer experience any anger. The way that you do that is through loving kindness meditation. And that's a real focal point of this particular course, is training your mind through loving kindness meditation. You're essentially rewiring the mind, because the way that the mind functions in the unenlightened state is it has certain cravings. It wants things to be a certain way. And now when something happens, if you agree with that, then you get pleasant feelings. But if you disagree with what's happening, you'll get angry and you'll go down this well-worn path of anger. You'll be bitter and harsh and hostile, potentially overtly to the people around you. And this is a well-worn path that you've traveled many times. And you know where it leads. It leads to broken relationships and difficulties and struggles. So what you're doing with loving kindness meditation is you're forging this new path. It's like getting out a machete and you're cutting through the bushes and you're trying to forge this new path. Where now, when something disagreeable happens, you understand any feelings or any emotions that you have, it's being caused by your own mind. And now you go down this path of loving kindness, where you just have a genuine interest in seeing this person be well, and you start choosing not to be bitter and harsh and hostile to them. That you know where that leads to. It leads to broken relationships. So wisely, you choose to not go down that path anymore. You choose to go down this path of loving kindness. But you'll struggle in doing that, and that's why you need the loving kindness meditation to rewire the mind. So when we're doing these affirmations, we're not trying to change other people. So when we say, may mom and dad be peaceful, we're not wishing or hoping that mom and dad will become peaceful. What we're doing is we're training our mind, rewiring it, that we would like to see mom and dad be peaceful, so that now when we're around mom and dad, we can be more peaceful and we can be more joyful. We can be more calm, right? So we're not trying to change other people through our meditation. It's not possible to do that. It's not a prayer that you're doing in loving kindness meditation and trying to change other people. What you're doing is you're transforming your own mind, that you rewire your mind, that you're only interested in seeing mom and dad and your family and your friends and other people to be peaceful and joyful. Of course, their peace and their joy is based on their decisions. It's not based on your decisions. Whether somebody is peaceful or joyful, it's based on their own individual decisions. But for you, if you're angry or hostile or bitter around them, now when you're putting out that hostility and bitterness, it's just going to come back to you. So that anger that you're having, the exact opposite of that is loving kindness. So rather than have anger towards mom and dad or brothers and sisters, you're training your mind in meditation. You're rewiring it to only be interested in seeing them be peaceful and joyful and calm and well and safe and all these other things that we use in meditation. Because when you're bitter and harsh and hostile towards them, this is harming them, and it's not going to improve your relationship and produce harmonious relationships. So by you rewiring your mind in meditation slowly but surely over time, you can be more loving and kind in your meditation, in your daily life. So your meditation is there like filling up your gas tank, so that then you can go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. So the meditation is one thing. But you can't transform your mind just through meditation alone. You're going to need to practice right intention, right speech, and right action. where you're going out into the world and practicing in such a way that you're loving and kind with others. So your meditation is there to fill up the gas tank, but then you go out into the world and you practice being loving and kind with the people around you. And this is what will transform your mind. So when I was growing up, I had a lot of resentment and hostility towards my mom when I was growing up for basically things that happened during my childhood. So whenever we were around together, even in my adulthood, it was only a matter of time before fireworks went off. Like, it just erupted into all kinds of problems because of the resentment that I was holding in my mind. And I kept wanting mom to change, but it never happened, right? It couldn't happen. The way that this needed to happen is I needed to change my mind first. So I started working on loving kindness meditation. I started putting mom in my loving kindness meditation regularly. And then when I started spending time with mom, I started being more loving and more kind. Where in the past, when mom would be angry and bitter and hostile and harsh, I would be angry and bitter and harsh and hostile right back. But when I started doing loving kindness meditation, when mom started being bitter, harsh, and hostile, I could be loving and kind. Mom would be on the phone. She would be saying something that's angry and judgmental towards me. And I would say, Mom, I'm going to get off the phone now. I'm going to let you think about what it is that you just said. I know in the past that I've said things to you that were unwise and that were hurtful, but I'm choosing to no longer do that anymore. I'm going to get off the phone and let you think about what you just said, and then we'll talk another time. I love you, Mom. Take care. Bye-bye. And then sometimes we wouldn't talk for 3 months or 6 months. And then we would talk again. Where in the past, she would pick up the rubber ball of anger and throw it around the room. And I would pick up the rubber ball of anger and throw it around the room. And she would pick it up and throw it around the room. And next thing you know, we got all these rubber balls bouncing around the room. Well, what I did is when she picked up the rubber ball of anger and threw it around the room, I just watched it roll to the corner and lose its energy. And it didn't bounce around anymore, right? So if you don't feed this anger, then it won't keep occurring. But if you keep wanting other people to change and you don't change yourself, then you'll never experience harmonious relationships, because as long as you put out bitterness and hostility, this is what's going to come back to you. So you're going to need to develop loving kindness meditation to transform your mind and rewire your mind so that you can be more loving and kind in all your relationships. And this is going to be through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that this will occur. It's not going to be instantaneous. You're going to need to gradually wear this away. The analogy that the Buddha gives on this, related to all these pollutions and all these poisons, is he talks about a digging tool. And if you think about a digging tool with a wooden handle, if you're digging with this wooden tool, this handle is wearing away every single day. When you're digging with this tool, the wood on the handle is wearing away. You don't know how much of the wood is wearing away each individual day when you're using this tool, but it's wearing away each day. So you don't know how much is wearing away each day, but when it gets to the point where you need to replace this handle because it's completely worn away, you'll know that this handle isn't functioning well anymore. I need to replace this handle. So each day you're not going to know how much wood is worn away, but when it's completely worn away, you'll know that. It's the same thing, that you're not going to know how much anger and hatred you're wearing away each day as you're doing loving kindness meditation and you're out there in the world practicing loving kindness. You're not going to know how much of it you're eliminating each day. But when it's completely gone, you'll know that, because it'll be 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. You're not angry with anybody at all. You'll know that because it's been completely extinguished. So if you stay committed and dedicated and diligent to your loving kindness meditation and going out into the world and be loving and kind, you'll see that your anger is gradually wearing away. But each day, you're not going to know how much. So I didn't know how much anger I was eliminating each individual day. But when it had been 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and I hadn't been angry with mom at all, I knew that it had been eliminated. And then we got to the point in our relationship where there was no anger and bitterness and hostility on my part, and there was none on her side either. We went many years before she died. She died in 2017. We went many years where there was no resentment, no anger, no hostility. We were never able to do that before. And the way that this happened is that I had to change first, right? It was like a log jam. Everything was jammed up in our relationship. And I had to take out the anger. I had to take out the resentment. I had to take out the hostility so these logs could flow. holding on to this wasn't helping anything whatsoever. So by me removing those logs, then things could flow and I could be more loving and kind with mom. And she started being able to see more and more that it was her that was being angry. It wasn't me. It wasn't me anymore. I wasn't doing it anymore. It was her, and that she needed to transform. So this is the anger, hatred, and ill will. This poison is in there motivating unskillful conduct. And you would like to transform your mind away from this anger, hatred, and ill will to fully develop this loving kindness. You're going to need to apply the effort that whenever you see anger arising with your mindfulness, whenever you see that anger arising, apply the right effort to bring in the loving kindness, this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And this is what you do, is use your loving kindness meditation to build that up. And then you go out in the world and you be loving and kind. So you can't meditate your way to enlightenment. You're going to need meditation, but you're going to need to go out in the world and be loving and kind. And this is how you fully transform the mind. So any questions here on the anger, the hatred, the ill will? Remember the lesser versions: frustration, irritation, annoyance, and all those lesser versions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. All right. So let's go on to the next one, which is we have a question here. Okay, go ahead, Kushi.
So during loving kindness meditation, do we, when we are saying these affirmations, do we see people? Like if I am doing it for mom and dad, then I'm seeing them be peaceful. And that is how I feel that they are having this feeling of peacefulness coming up. And then with all people, some random people will come up. And so is this the way that we do it?
Yes, you can do that. This is called visualization. So that not only do you do the affirmations, but you do the visualization as well. So like when I used to do the loving kindness meditation for my mom, I would envision that she was sitting in front of me and that my loving kindness was like a syrup that was dripping over her head, like honey or molasses that was dripping over her head and kind of encompassing her full body. And this is what the Buddha describes. He describes that you should have loving kindness permeating in your mind, that it should fill up the mind, bring it to full growth and full perfection. So he also talks about enveloping an individual with loving kindness, right? So you can envision and visualize your family or whoever you're meditating in your loving kindness, that they're sitting in front of you, or some other way that you would like to visualize that. You can visualize this syrup or molasses going over them if you like. This is what I used to do. But any kind of visualization like that you might choose to do can be very helpful for you to bring up the loving kindness in the mind and rise it up in the mind so that it's permeating and the mind is filled with this loving kindness.
And is it because of seeing these people being peaceful that we also have more loving kindness coming up, or how does it work?
It's because of right effort. You need to apply the effort to really bring this up into the mind, because I'm sure you have loving kindness in your mind, but in certain situations, it's like you're maybe angry or hostile with somebody, or upset or resentful towards them. So you need to bring it up and 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 bring it up until it's just permeating in the mind. By the time you get to enlightenment, it's impossible for you to feel anger. It's not possible for the mind to be angry anymore, because you've gotten rid of the craving, desire, attachment. You've gotten rid of the anger, and the loving kindness is permeating in the mind. It's physically impossible for the mind to ever get angry again, because you've rewired the mind to now be loving and kind. So where you feel like any kind of anger, hatred, ill will, frustration, irritation, agitation, even the slightest annoyance is in the mind, you need to apply the effort to bring up the loving kindness towards that individual. And that's what will fully transform the mind to the point where it's not possible for the mind to experience anger towards any being whatsoever anymore. So wherever you see that, just bring it up and bring it up. It's right effort that helps you to do that. And your right mindfulness, of course, because you need to be able to see that anger to then apply the right effort.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the whole reason why craving and anger even exists in the mind is because of this third poison, referred to as ignorance, but I tend to use the phrase unknowing of true reality. This is the confusion, the misunderstanding, the misperception that the mind has. This is the whole reason why craving and anger continues to exist in the world, in your mind, is because of a lack of wisdom, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand, that this craving continues and the anger continues. This is because this is the stuck in the cycle. The cycle just continues. You stay stuck in this continuous cycle of being bitter and harsh and hostile over and over and over again because the mind just lacks wisdom. It feels fully justified in its anger towards someone or its bitterness towards someone because it just doesn't know anything better. It just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. So the way that you transform your ignorance is by getting to wisdom. You get to wisdom by not believing anything. When you believe something, you don't know if it's true or false. You're just believing it. So your mind will waver back and forth. So you would like to get to the point where you know the truth, where when you study the Four Noble Truths, you know that these are the truth, that you can see for yourself. Yes, it's your own craving, desire, attachments that's causing this. And now you get to wisdom. And never again will you ever be convinced that somebody else is causing you to be angry, that you can see it so clearly that your mind is causing its own discontentedness. And this is very empowering because when other people start blaming you for their anger, you'll know with 100% certainty you're not causing it, that they're causing it themselves. But they may not understand that, but that's okay. That's their life. But you understand it, that you're not causing them to be angry or frustrated or irritated or annoyed, right? So this wisdom is what's going to liberate your mind. And you get to wisdom by not believing anything. You learn, you reflect, you practice. You investigate the teachings, you examine them. And when you're reflecting on them, what I'm talking about there is independently verifying them through your own direct experience, that you can be able to see the truth for yourself about all these teachings. So like when the Buddha teaches about not lying, you can reflect on that and you can be like, okay, well, when I lied, what's ever happened? Was it wholesome or was it unwholesome? Oh yeah, that was an unwise decision. I experienced unwholesome results. Yeah, I can see the truth in that. That is very wise. I can independently reflect that lying is unwise, and I can see that for myself. Or slander, or harsh speech, or frivolous speech. You can independently reflect on that and see the truth for yourself. That's where you can see it's not rules, it's not commandments, it's the natural laws of existence that the Buddha discovered through his own insight, his own wisdom. But then when he shares that, you can independently reflect on it and see the truth for yourself. So you need to arise wisdom about many different aspects of these natural laws. And the more that you arise this wisdom, that's what's going to transform the mind. Because now you'll have the wisdom of craving and what that is and why it's a problem in the mind. And then you'll understand breathing mindfulness meditation and generosity. You'll understand anger, loving kindness meditation and practicing loving kindness. You'll understand all the factors of the Eightfold Path. Implementing this more and more in your life, you'll be able to see the truth that it works to improve the condition of your mind and your life. Your relationships really blossom. So you can't get to enlightenment through belief. You can't believe your way to enlightenment. You need to be able to learn, reflect, and practice to get to this wisdom. And the wisdom that you're looking for is wisdom of the three universal truths, the three universal truths, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the five precepts, the natural law of Gamma, the three poisons themselves, what is merit, extensive meditation training, the Brahma Viharas, the seven factors of enlightenment. All these different teachings are there for specific reasons. The Buddha is providing these, and if you understand these tools and techniques that he's sharing with you, you can invoke whatever tool or technique you need in any given situation. So he's got the complete perfect plan to be able to help you to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. He's already done the hard work of figuring out how to get to enlightenment. You'll just need to learn his teachings to be able to heal from what hurt you so that you never need to hurt ever again. Because as long as your mind has these craving and anger, you'll continue to experience pain in the mind. And this is just from a lack of wisdom. And this is where you can see you're not a bad person. You haven't necessarily done anything wrong. You don't have to feel guilty or shameful, that you feel angry sometimes, that you feel irritated or annoyed. You don't have to feel guilt or shame about those things. Everybody who was ever born has been unenlightened. It's not your fault. You don't have to think about it as fault or blame or anything like that. Just understand that, okay, your mind has these three poisons. So, okay, now that I understand that they're there, let me work on getting rid of them. The Buddha describes it almost like being shot with an arrow, a poisonous arrow. He has a certain story that he tells. He says, okay, you've been shot by this poisonous arrow, and now you've got to get the poison out. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to figure out, how do I get the poison out? You need the wisdom to figure out how to get this poison out. So every single one of us, we're shot with a poisonous arrow, and you need to figure out how to get it out. And that's what the teachings of the Buddha are going to teach you, is the tools and the techniques of how to get it out of the mind. And then as you do, this is where you see the peace and the joy coming through in the mind, the brightness and the radiance, the qualities of the mind improving, the focus and concentration, the clarity, the deep memory, your personal, professional relationships really blossoming. Because as long as you have these poisons in the mind, you'll make unwise decisions. When you're making decisions through craving, these are selfish decisions, that they're only self-satisfying, and it's going to produce unwholesome results. When you're making decisions through anger, that anger is going to motivate unskillful decisions, unwise decisions, and now it's going to produce unwholesome results. When you're making decisions through ignorance or the unknowing of true reality, it's going to produce unwholesome results in your life. This is referred to as unwholesome karma. Unwholesome karma is produced by craving, anger, and ignorance. When you're making decisions through craving, anger, and ignorance, it's going to produce unwholesome results or unwholesome karma. But when you can make decisions through the three wholesome roots of generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, now making decisions through those, you'll experience wholesome results. This is wholesome karma, or the wholesome results of your decisions. Making decisions through generosity, where you're giving and sharing, where you're practicing loving kindness, which is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, and you're practicing wisdom, this is what's going to produce the wholesome results in your life. So you're gradually bringing down your craving, your anger, your ignorance, and you're gradually bringing up the generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. And as you do, you'll experience more and more wholesome results based on the condition of your mind in your life, in the things that you experience in your life. So this is the life practice, is to eradicate these three poisons, and all the tools and all the techniques that I'm going to share with you throughout this course and that the Buddha shares with you is how to do this. So I'm going to teach you how to do this through the Eightfold Path, of course. That's why I started with that this morning. But all the other teachings of the Buddha are helping you to accomplish this. But now the rest of the course, starting tomorrow, I'm going to show you how in these relationships that you have, how to arise this generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, and practice more and more in a way that's based in wisdom, rather than basing your decisions in craving, anger, and ignorance. Any questions on the three poisons, or the three unwholesome roots, or the three fires? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So, tomorrow we're going to start off with loving kindness meditation, like we did this afternoon. I'll start off with the breathing mindfulness meditation, moving into the loving kindness meditation. Then I'm going to teach you the loving kindness meditation. I'm going to go through and explain it to you in detail. I'm going to be using the words of the Buddha so that you can see what the Buddha taught on loving kindness meditation. And then I'm going to teach you and help you understand how to do it in detail. And then we'll actually do a session together as well. So each morning and each afternoon, we'll be doing loving kindness meditation, so you get an experience of how to do this. Loving kindness meditation is really helpful in the morning because it kind of fills up your gas tank, and you go out into the world and you can be more loving and kind. So out of your 2 or 3 meditations, you would like probably the morning session to be your loving kindness meditation. But what we're going to do in this course is each individual meditation is going to be loving kindness, just so you get an experience of how to do loving kindness meditation. But in your own practice, you would like 2 or 3 sessions per day of meditation, building up to that gradually. And most likely you'd like your morning session to be loving kindness, so that you can go out into the world and be more loving and kind in all your relationships and conversations. And then we also have some other things tomorrow. Let me show you what I'm going to be sharing with you. So that's loving kindness meditation. Then I'm going to be teaching you identifying cravings and cultivating non-craving and analysis of the mind. This is chapter 13 in volume 1. And then after our lunch break, Then I'll come back and teach you the Brahma Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. I'm going to be teaching you the symptoms that you have in your mind based on not having these 4 healthy mental states. And then I'm going to teach you these as antidotes. This is where the Buddha sometimes gets the reputation of being like a doctor, because there's certain symptoms that you experience, and then there's a certain prescription or a certain antidote. So I'm going to teach you what those are, because when you see those symptoms, when you see those things coming up in your mind, you can then apply the antidote if you have this tool or technique. So that's what I'm going to teach you guys tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that you need help with, feel free to let me know. I'm going to end class here, finish up, and then tomorrow we'll pick it up at 9 a.m. in the morning. So thank you guys here. Thank you guys for those of you online that are learning and developing your practice. And we'll see you guys in a future class, okay? Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.